potential sequel to Dracula, and I wanted to just, you guys were like, okay, let's go. And I don't know, it got together pretty quick, and there were some bumps in the road. Anyway, bring up Natasha Kermani. Anyways, I always say this to her. I always say this to her like, right when she gets me. Because she's family to all of us. And all of us forever at our field. And I mean this, I've never seen a person so prepared and had every aspect from days, budget, fires happening, that stayed calm throughout it all, delivered on time, delivered a banger of a movie that I'm so proud of her. So from all of us, of like, producers forever that will tell, like, this one is a good one. And I was gonna say, if she's half of this soon-to-be mother that she's director, that kid's the luckiest kid in the world. So, Natasha Kermani.
This is our LA premiere of Abraham's Boys, and that is extra special to us because most of our cast and crew is here tonight. We are a LA-based crew, and we filmed this in California. So let's keep doing that. We had rattlesnakes and wildfires and extreme heat and all of that fun stuff, and not enough time and all of the usual stuff that an independent film has. But it was made with a lot of love. It's being released with a lot of love with these guys, and I hope you enjoy the film. So I'll be outside afterwards. I'd love to hear what you think. Have fun.
Hello. My name is Danielle. I'm thrilled to moderate a little Q&A for you for Abraham's Boys. Let's get our guests down here ASAP. First of all, writer, director, Natasha Kermani. Also joining us, Jocelin Donahue. Brady Hepner, our man. And Judah Mackey, our man. Hold on, I misread the chairs. Okay, I'm putting this down. And then this one down.
Does it matter?
This one is askew slightly, so I assume, yes, let's take these seats, please. Natasha, why don't you sit here? Great. I won't steal your purse, I promise.
There's nothing about it.
So we're going to have a little opportunity at the end for a couple of questions from the audience, just so you know. But first I want to congratulate you all on the premiere of this film. There's so much rich terrain to discuss in this. But Natasha, I wonder if you could start us off. How did this story come to you, and also what was so intriguing to you about diving into not just Joe Hill's short story that it's based on, but Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Yeah, so I've been a Dracula fan for a very long time, and I was familiar with 20th Century Ghosts and this short story, but it was sent to me in the context of like, does this have meat on its bones for film? And that was a really interesting question. And for me, when I read it, it was this opportunity to not change Dracula, but to go back and look at it through the lens of the short story, and that was very exciting to me, and sort of start to just look at everything from a slightly different angle, and that's always a very exciting prospect, I think, to dive into.
I'm just curious, how many people here have read the original short story?
Woo!
Oh, interesting. Okay, so what I think would be interesting for people who haven't read the short story to know is that there are several characters that you add, that you bring into the film to expand the world of the film, one of which, in a way, is Mina.
Yeah, I had to bring Mina in. So the short story is really just Van Helsing and the boys in a house. And And so it's really, adapting a short story is interesting because it's usually just one scene. So you start with the question of like, where does this scene fall? Is it in the story at all? And in this case, it was looking at the short story, but then, of course, like I said, going back to Bram Stoker's original material and thinking about, okay, just rereading it, bookmarking all the scenes with Abraham, with the chapters with Abraham, and thinking about how can that sort of be interwoven with what Joe has really like just completely shaken up. And so for me, I really wanted to see Mina. I wanted to see the family before Mina is gone, so we kind of understand the dynamic. And to me, she's just it's such a crazy idea that Joe had to put Mina with Van Helsing. It's like, what the hell drove this woman into his arms? And so just starting to unfold that got really exciting, and then Jocelin came on board and just did your own thing with it.
I can't wait to hear the backstory about Abraham and Mina in your world. Jocelin, I understand you're quite an aficionado of this particular lore.
Drac stan.
A Drac stan.
Yes, you could call that.
Tell me about your, prior to this project coming to you, what was your relationship with the story and these characters, and what was so intriguing to you about playing Mina in this sort of, I don't know, like alternate timeline, kind of in this scenario?
Yeah, well, just like Natasha, this character has been with me since I read the book when I was about 12, and she was kind of the early literary heroine for me. In the book, she's a character that has a ton of agency for that time period, and she's kind of one of the gang solving the mystery, and the book is very immediate. It really feels like the characters are speaking to you from 1897. And then to be able to use all that backstory and psychology to now think about where Mina is after the events of Dracula was super interesting, and it was really fun to nerd out with Natasha about all those details and to think about what it's like to reckon with what they did. Just like Arthur Holmes says, Lucy was like my sister, and we came together and cut off her head. So there's like this trauma that we're dealing with, and that's also where Abraham and Mina forged their relationship over this kind of mutual, crazy thing that they did together. So they have this history that's kind of
Trauma bonded?
yes, exactly. That's the word I'm looking for.
And Joe actually, I wish Joe was here, but he points out this very small detail at the end of Dracula, which is Mina is bouncing a child on her knee, and the child is described as having red hair, which is a trait of Abraham. And so apparently that's part of why Joe did that. He said, it's kids, they're kids. So maybe it's a little nice.
Brady, I have a slightly different question for you to start off, and that is to point out that this is actually not your first Joe Hill adaptation.
It is not. I worked on a very tiny horror movie a while ago called The Black Phone with Joe Hill. So yeah, it was really neat getting another opportunity to work with him. I mean, he's a creative genius.
So The Black Phone, the short story Black Phone, is in the same collection as Abraham's Boys, 20th Century Ghosts. Was this a story that you had already come across when you worked on that?
Very vaguely. I looked at a lot of the short stories when I first got my first job with Joe, but when Natasha's script came through, it was very familiar. Like, it was one of those scripts where I felt like I had read it before, but I wasn't sure where. And so then after I got to do some of the process to be the character and Zoom calls I had with Natasha, I found out that, yeah, it's in the exact same book. So it was kind of a cool trip down memory lane, if you will.
And Judah, your Rudy is such a great character. He's almost the most, the most solid of all of the people in this house. And I wonder if part of what informed your performance is the fact that you are a veteran performer. One thing that I thought was really impressive was the quietness that you bring to him. And I wonder if you could just talk about what you liked about that character, and also, how old were you when you shot this?
I think I was like 12 and a half, 13. But I actually grew like 9 inches in my voice, if you guys couldn't tell.
This is the same actor right here.
But yeah, Rudy is actually one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite characters I had to play. I don't know, I just thought like while reading the script, like, I don't think this guy is much of like a screamer, you know? So I like brought like such a like shy look to him, you know? He's a little like rowdy, but yeah. I mostly thought like quiet kid, but like sometimes gets a little, you know, hyped.
And I'm gonna bring the questions back down this way, but I'll stay with you, Judah. So tell the folks here, I mean, I wasn't kidding when I say you're a veteran actor. How many episodes of television have you done, if you would have to guess?
Do you even know? You probably
I don't know. Like episodes, like all together, just everything. I don't know. Maybe like I'm on Young and Restless, which is a soap opera, and I know I crossed 100 episodes recently. If I had to guess all together, probably around like 250. If I can guess, but I honestly don't know. I don't know.
So what do you remember of talking to Natasha for the first time about this project, and what did you two discuss about the story and your character?
I mean, she was very welcoming, you know. We discussed like the dynamics of my character, you know, like I asked her a bunch of questions and she was very responsive, so I love that about Natasha. But yeah, we discussed like what goes where, like when like Rudy does this, you know, should I be like more excited here or like curious? And she was like very responsive and had good feedback, so yeah.
And Brady, you're also close to the age of your character at the time, or were you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, I believe so. Maybe a year or two older, but yeah, I mean, same time frame.
And the story is set in 1915 in Central Valley, California, kind of a very specific time and place. I wonder if you can share, were there things that you researched or materials that helped you understand what a young man in this time and place, what his experience and his outlook on the world might be?
Yeah, so with Natasha, I mean, we researched as much as possible, going over books and films that we could relate to what we were going after. So all of the behind the scenes research I did was great. Being there puts you in the setting. When it is over 100 degrees and you're wearing wool, you feel like you have nothing. And that is exactly what our characters went through. So being in the costumes that were from that period, being in this setting where 360 all around the house, you cannot see another person. It is very fitting, if you will.
That's right, you filmed not too far from, as you said in your intro, in Simi Valley at a movie ranch.
Yes, Big Sky Movie Ranch, shout out.
I believe that's where Little House on the Prairie was filmed.
That is correct. And there is a tour available of Little House on the Prairie.
Well known. What was it like for you, Natasha, to recreate this time and place, this isolation as well?
I mean, I didn't do it, the team is here. I mean, these guys are incredible. It is we were a very, very small crew. Everybody just really hustled their butts to try and keep things authentic, but also expressionistic, right? So every item, Fiona and her team was amazing, just sort of finding the right set deck, and even Abby's beautiful costume, I mean, for Jocelin especially, just incredible, gothic, our Raven Queen. So it's really the team. I think everybody was excited by the opportunity to see this time period on time. It's actually not a time we see a lot. So I think everyone was kind of interested. It's this interesting jump off point from the old world into the new, right? So part of being in California is interesting. We're going into World War I, we're going into this industrialization of our world, and so we have this meeting place of old world, Western Europe that they're coming from to the new world where, literally day by day, the world is getting smaller in California. So I think everyone on the team got that immediately and got excited about expressing that.
That's right, the railroad's coming.
The
The world's about to come.
railroad is coming.
I want to actually talk a little bit more about Mina's character and the women in this film. But first I thought it would be nice to see how many people, let's give a shout out, how many people in this room worked on this film?
A lot. And we have also working with cast here, Aurora, beautiful Aurora, who plays our Elsie, who is our Titus of New World. She and her brother, they've been courting on, really represent the New World, and then we have our Dracula Forest is here somewhere, and Mary Cedar is here as our priest as well, so we have a lot of friends and family members.
And crew members, right? Like, I met Brittany, or
Yes, Brittany, our composer, is here.
Okay, so Mina, this is something I don't want to skip over because Mina's character, it's especially tremendous knowing that she's just referred to in the story and really flesh and blood and agony in the film. But she, of all the themes that this film really is in conversation on, one with hers, medical misogyny, and the fact that she's, being slowly.
Yeah, I mean, that is something Abraham is probably drugging her. We talked about maybe laudanum or something like that. So yeah, it's blurred lines between what is her mental illness, her physical ailments that could present as vampirism to keep Abraham's story going. But we talked about how there's this cognitive dissonance where she's never been able to really reckon with what happened to her, and that she probably was attacked by Dracula. But even if he wasn't a vampire, she's never been able to, she's had to accept Abraham's explanations because that's easier for her than to process what actually happened. And so she's really kind of a trapped character. She's trapped in this story, and she's trapped 20 years ago, and she's trapped in this house. Yeah, she's a very tragic character.
She's trapped in high neck color.
Displays and the high neck.
Yeah, we talked about her being his sort of number one acolyte. So she helps, Abraham has sort of built this mythology, to help explain his worldview and sort of how, and his actions. And Mina has very much, especially at this point, 18 years later, has very much bought into it and is not only enabling him, but like really.
Yeah, but I do love that at the very end, we did add her last dying act on her deathbed is to confront him in the same way that her Wombo does. And so I think maybe as she's getting closer to death, there's some clarity that comes.
Yeah, we added that kind of late, didn't we? Yeah, that might have been the most we were shooting. We sort of realized we liked the idea of her, in her illness, in the fever, she actually has clarity.
Yeah.
And she finally sees him, and that's also part of what breaks him when he starts to sort of lose. But yeah, we have that.
There's a little line from Bram Stoker's Dracula that I stumbled upon, where Mina is described by Van Helsing as having something like, I'll paraphrase it, she has the brain of a man and the heart of a woman.
Yes, yeah.
Were things like that like really helpful to both
Oh,
of you?
yeah. I mean, it's really interesting to see where Mina ends up, that she's really a shell of her former self. But that's something I love about the scene with Elsie. I think that like what initially maybe comes off as judgment is actually respect, and I think maybe she's seeing like what she could have been if she wasn't kind of trapped in the situation that Abraham had.
She recognizes the lightness in Elsie that she has. And also something in Joe's story is that Rudy is very much like Mina, and Max is very much like Abraham, which the boys and I talked about quite a bit. But I think Rudy's lightness comes from his mother. It's Abraham's not here.
Speaking of Abraham, Titus Welliver is fantastic as our Abraham. Fearsome, protective for sure. And I wonder if you can each talk about what it was like to craft those moments with him, and thinking about how complicated his relationships are with his sons. How did you come to understand Abraham?
You want to start?
Sure. Yeah, Titus, day one, we come to set and we both have our pages filled of what we think our characters are. And so being able to sit down with Natasha, sit down with everybody that we're working with on the day and kind of brainstorm where we're at and find out where we need to be by the end of it was really beneficial for me because there is such a strong relationship, a different relationship between Max and Abraham. It's a very soldier-like, commanding, listen to a general, almost, if you will. So with Titus, our biggest thing was finding the moments where Max could see through the bravado, if you will. And so, yeah, I mean, the only thing that helped me was talking it out and letting it play on screen.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the relationship between Rudy and Abraham is a little weird, right? I feel Mina is like the shield to me. Like, as you can see, after her death, after Max gets pushed down the stairs, I'm like crying for help. I don't think Abraham would have done that if Mina was still alive, But I feel he isn't like as hard on me as he is on Max, Yeah, that's all I have to say. I mean, working with Titus was really awesome as well.
There's something that that brings up for me, which is that I also see this as an immigrant story, like almost like a tragic story of an immigrant father and his sons, his family. Was that something in mind for you?
Yeah, my dad is, not only is he an immigrant, he's also a physician. So, yeah, no, I mean, I think it's definitely in there for sure. I think it's part of this like travel to the new world theme, but you're bringing a lot of the baggage, the sort of injuries that Abraham received, is he bringing it with him to his new life, and he's not really able to create a fresh life for himself, and he's passed it on to his sons. Yeah, but on the other hand, you have Elsie and Eddie, who are, to me, I mean, when I initially asked Aurora to be a part of this project, it was really like, I want to see the hope as well. If Abraham is the sort of darkness of it, we need some opposite to him to sort of show, like, these are the people who are going to inherit this new place and make it their own. So there's two sides to the coin, I hope. It's not just all darkness.
I also love how Elsie as a character is a mirror to Max, especially at the end, when Max, in a way, is perpetuating the cycle. He is committing an act of violence out of a need to protect, a desire to protect. And that's also one of the many, many interesting things that you've put into the story.
Yeah, I think it's all in Joe's short story, though. I mean, Joe's story very much it sort of suggests that Max does pick up Abraham's mantle and becomes a killer in his own right? Like, he's building now, Max is building his own mythology. He's now labeled Abraham as the monster, right? So Abraham, 20 years ago, came to these kids and said, I'm going to tell you who the monster is. I'm going to tell you how to fix your problems. Follow me and you'll be saved. Now, 20 years later, Max is now doing the same thing. And that's like Titus laughs at the end of the movie, He understands the irony that he's now become a monster in his son's mythology. Yeah, not very uplifting.
There's an interesting, there's an interesting little tidbit in the credits. And that is there's a credited violinist on this score. And that person is Natasha Kermani!
I mean, Brittany played all the other instruments, including the vocals, so yeah, hey, it's low budget. Yes, I am also play violin on it.
And I believe you also worked on, you did music also on at least one of your previous projects, Imitation Girl, right?
Yeah.
So for you being a musician as well, I was so curious, like thinking about that musical element, hearing your beautiful violin in this film. Do you have that in mind? All the way through your stages of making a movie?
Yeah, it's developed at the same time as the shot list, as the color palette, so all of the departments are starting, they're all developing alongside each other, and to me that includes music, even though Brady came on later in the process. A lot of those ideas were already sort of there, and then you're bringing in this creative mind bring her own spin to it. But yeah, so absolutely, as you're figuring out, okay, this is the lens that we film Max with, at the same time you're thinking, okay, well, I think he has this sound, right? So if Abraham sort of has this brass, this horn sound to him, how does that become Max's by the end of the movie? It's the same as with all of the departments. The color story that the production designer is telling, the shots that the cinematographer is bringing, all of those things are get started from the same seed and grow together.
When you, let's talk about the cinematography. The photography is so beautiful. And you really make the most of this natural landscape and the set that you have. How would you describe your approach to the look of the film, and how did you work with your cinematographer, Julia?
Yeah, Julia's amazing. She does all of my projects with me, and we have our great G&E team here as well, Colin John. Working on shoestring as a result. I promise Monday it's not going to be a shoestring. Yeah, Julia and I start very early together, and I'll also say, like, all of these actors and Titus, you can't do this unless your actors are there with you. So these guys are getting 2 takes, maybe 3 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
You know, the axe chops, maybe we did a few extra, but really, I mean, it's you are like really being very precise. So you know we're gonna nail this in 2 or 3 takes because these guys are amazing and they can do it. But obviously, one of the main things is the aspect ratio, the 4:3 aspect ratio. We decided on that pretty early, and very grateful that Shudder is okay with that. RLJ. So that is not only calling back to the popular medium format of the time, 1915, but it also for us was very exciting because it lent itself very nicely to the squareness of the house. And so we're sort of placing these individuals within the house and sort of cutting off the left and the right. So it becomes this much more intimate portrait of each of the characters as they are. And you don't really know what's happening on the left, you don't really know what's happening on the right. It sort of creates this, for me, a little bit of more tension around it. And then we worked with the colorist, Alastair Arnold at Photochem, who's the best, he's my guy. And we developed what I think is a really interesting color for the film. So the greens are sort of have this emerald quality to them. Everything feels a little bit wrong, which he's very good at. So we actually developed that look with him before we started filming. So by the time we were there on set, we were able to have our light applied to our looks. And yeah, vintage lenses, the rest is history. So daylight, lots of daylight.
So you mentioned, you made a point of mentioning that you shot this in LA. It's meaningful that you did. Was that all from the start, from the beginning of your first talks about this project? Was shooting in LA the priority? How did that come to be?
The script was always in California. I believe Joe's story is not actually, it doesn't call out where he is, but they're sort of suggested to be in New England, which to me was too close to London. I wanted to sort of run away from London as far as we could get, like what's the opposite visually and tonally from London, and that's like right ass California. So for me, it was always set in California, and again, because I liked that junction of old, new, new world, old world. So it was always California for us, and then we found the location, and so we felt like let's do it here. And this was, things were starting to slow down in LA, but I think it was nowhere near as crazy as brutal as it is right now. So now it's just, man, it's nice to go home at night. To shoot, do your work, go home, sleep in your own bed, see your dogs, see your partner. It's hard to eat. So.
And you shot this last year.
We did.
And it was very temperate and easy, right? No heat at all.
No, but I think the realistic sweat and misery on their faces is really
That's period accurate misery right there. I want to open it up to a couple questions if anybody has them. I'll try to spot your hands. I'm sorry, Derek. Okay, well just like flag me down if you do. The horror. We need to talk about the horror. And I want to start with you, Judah, down at the end. The horror in here, in this film, is so interesting because it really sets us up for one expectation of the reality of this world, and then really hits you with what I think personally is an even scarier reality, right? Vampires are either real or they're not real. I don't know which one is more disturbing in this film. So Judah, for you, what's your favorite horror moment in this to play and to watch?
Horror moment to play and go watch. I mean, I love the end scenes. Like the last 10 minutes for me were like my favorite. You know, you got Max running with the axe, you know. My favorite moment to shoot and film those horror was at the end with me stabbing and just hurting Abraham. That was horrendous in the film. But yeah, besides that, I can't really think of anything else. Yeah.
You didn't love being in that sweaty ass basement?
Oh yeah.
Oh, Planet! I didn't even, yes, Planet is here as well, our beautiful woman in the basement.
Oh, Hark, I see a hand. Please, yes.
Hello, this question's for Natasha. What movies inspired you as a kid? I was really, really impressed by the cinematography. I thought it was one of the most beautiful films. So what movies made you want to make films that look like that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely all movies. I love all sorts of movies. I would say a lot of, I was lucky enough to grow up in the time of BTS docs on DVDs. And so I would actually say the ability to rent a movie from a library, you know, my friends and I would watch, you know, the Lord of the Rings behind the scenes docs or the Matrix behind the scenes doc. I remember really sticking with me and being able to see not the shots, but how they shot the shots was definitely huge for me. And just trying to figure out how did they actually do the magic trick? Like I'm the worst person to go to a magic show with because I just get so irritated. I just want to know how the hell they did it. And so I would say those BTS docs were really big. For this one, we did look at the original Dracula. Obviously, we have the little black and white nod that we have to keep in there. But yeah, I would say just getting to get a little bit of glimpse behind the scenes is really what got me super excited. And 2001 Space Odyssey, obviously. I still don't know how they did that movie, so any question?
Are you going to do BTS with it?
Oh man, oh man, no, I don't know, there's probably some videos somewhere.
Gabe?
Yeah, Gabe probably did some videos, yeah.
Really quickly, we're going to wrap up, but I wanted to continue down the line. And we'll just, pull a little nostalgia, a year-old nostalgia, flashing back to a year ago. Brady, what was your favorite moment now when you look back?
I don't know about favorite, I'll say interesting. Jocelin and I, along with the crew, to go back on your question about helping us get into the whole scheme of this movie, we had to deal with live bats. That was a whole thing. So yeah, it was really freaky being
The
like.
house was infested with bats.
Yes, there was a bat nest upstairs that I found by disturbing them.
Infested is a strong word.
It was infested.
It started as one and we were like, oh my god, it's Batty Davis, we love her. And there were
I think wasn't it bad that it literally flew between me and the camera when I'm reaching out?
Yes.
That should be
A few of them are still in the movie, actually. They're really quick, but when he goes down the stairs and sees his mother, if you look very closely, there are a few little critters.
That's so appropriate. How beautiful that the bats joined you on this endeavor. Yes, tell everybody in this room who was there agrees. Jocelyn, your favorite moment when you look back?
I mean, I was going to talk about those nighttime scenes too, which were so much fun, but just in general, I mean, Natasha is such a remarkable person and filmmaker, and it was so amazing to work with her. It really just felt like, people always talk about that it's, a collaborative effort, but it felt so communal, and she's really pulling the best from every department, so just every scene I got to work on with her was incredible.
Okay, final word and go to Natasha.
Julia and I were squished into the back of that car in the shot of Homewood driving up, and everybody said, "You'll be in the reflection." And we just got really, really small in the back, and we're in that 1915 car. It was just us and Johnny, who plays our guy Homewood, and that was really fun.
That's a great shot. It's a great great shot. And I'm like, wow, I really got.
And we're not in the reflection. Can't see us.
Because you're vampires. That's- Well, okay, this movie is in theaters July 11th. That's Friday, guys. I'll get E and Sarah and Vidiots. And if you would please join us in the lobby. One more round of applause for Adrian.